Many of us will close out the year and celebrate the festive season with friends, family, and colleagues. And these parties are always a lot of fun, but they come with responsibility. And hosts should take note that the spirits of the season carry potential civil legal issues. So let's welcome Jasmine Daya, lawyer and managing principal of Jasmine Daya & Co., here with some tips to make sure you and your guests are safe from harm and liability this Christmas season. Thanks so much for joining us, Jasmine.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. So, this is a risk that not only individuals face, but also corporations can face too when they're hosting these parties. Can you walk us through some of the legal issues that, as a host of a party, you should be aware of?
Absolutely. So people host parties all year, obviously, but we do see an increase in the number of parties that people have during the holiday season, which is this time of year. And yes, there is a lot that needs to be taken into consideration. Most people, when you host a party at your home, are thinking about, okay, what's our menu going to be and what can we do to make sure it's a fun time? And no one's really thinking about the liability, because who wants to do that? But you should be doing that because you want to avoid those pitfalls. You want to avoid the regret later. And by civil liability, what are we talking about? So there's two common ways that this could creep in with the host and things you want to avoid. So first is you want to ensure that there are no hazards outside your property or inside the property, because that could lead to someone injuring themselves and commencing a lawsuit for personal injury. So for example, the walkway on the way up to the home, you want to make sure that it's not slippery, because if someone slips and falls due to icy conditions or snow coming or going, that could be a potential issue, a lawsuit for personal injury. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize, and they're starting to become a little bit more aware in recent years, is what we call social host liability. So what that means is that if someone comes to your home, they become intoxicated, they step off the curb when they're leaving and they're struck by a motor vehicle. I'm sorry, I know it's early for this kind of conversation, but
reality.
Yeah, it could be that not only is that person injured that was your guest, but they could sue the host of the party, because the host is the one that served the alcohol. And if they are struck by a vehicle, that vehicle that struck the pedestrian could also sue the host. And so these are things we want to avoid. We want to make sure that the host protects themselves and tries to ensure this type of situation doesn't occur.
So when it comes to the host and that social responsibility, as you mentioned, what are the best steps to take? Because it sounds like, we all see the proverbial or the classic, like, collect everybody's keys and put them in a jar, and then you're somehow supposed to measure their level of intoxication. But, we're not all experts at that. And we might be enjoying a pint or two ourselves, too.
You've hit it right on. There are a lot of issues here. We want to collect keys is what we used to do, but I think setting the tone from the outset, when you send that invitation out, you want to tell people, hey, it's going to be a fun time. There will be alcohol served. Please take a ride share or public transit or a taxi. Stay the night.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Make it a big slumber party. But you don't want people to think from the beginning, I'm going to drive there.
Yeah.
Because that's where some of the main issues come into play. And that could lead to criminal liability for the individual, as well as potential civil liability for the individual and the host.
Okay.
But you want to make sure, set the tone at the outset, and when they arrive, figure out how they came. You want to monitor them while they're in your home. What have they consumed? Do they have glassy eyes? Are they acting a little different? Some people act differently when they've had a few.
Yeah.
So some people get louder, some people get more aggressive, some are more giggly, some are sleepy. So all those differences you want to monitor.
For sure. And just because time is limited, I just want to touch on this too. Assuming that because folks are friends or family, whether it's injury or intoxication, that, you won't get sued, that could be a mistake as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the host needs to make sure that they have home insurance. Make sure you have home insurance. Brush up on what that covers, because that will help you so you're not personally liable to pay if there is a lawsuit. And that's right. People don't generally come to me, a personal injury lawyer, when they when they're injured. They don't come immediately. They don't injure themselves and come to a lawyer. What they do is realize a couple months down the line that their employer's less accommodating. They aren't making any money. They can't put food on the table.
Yeah.
Then they have no alternative. They have to sue, not because they want to, but they need to.
Okay. Well, this was such an educational conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in and educating me and our audience at home. Folks, that is Jasmine Daya, lawyer and managing principal of Jasmine Daya and Company.